Hey everyone, welcome back to another daily creative challenge. My name is Jesus Ramirez. How are you guys doing today? This is daily creative challenge number 9 and it's our last daily challenge. Thank you guys so much for being here with me throughout this whole process. I just want to quickly look at the chat and see who we have here, and I just want to say thank you for joining me on this last chat. I see Anna. Thank you for being here again. Sean, Ron, Mandy, Philippa, Lawrence, Lois, Chad, Sam, Ralph, Rosie. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you guys doing today? In today's challenge, we're going to be working with 3D images. We're going to be working with spherical 3D panoramas, and we actually have 2 files for you to download so that you can practice with them in case you don't have a 360 camera or you don't want to go around with your cell phone creating a 360 spherical panorama. So before we get started, I just want to show you this page, which is where you can download the 2 files that I'm talking about. If you scroll down to 360 photo editing and click on get started, you'll open up a Dropbox link where you can download the 2 images. This is found under behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Chris Converse, who is the person who provided those 360 photos for me. Chris is a really good friend of mine. You may know him from Codify Studio. He's an Adobe Max speaker, has courses on lynda.com, Creative Live, and Udemy. One of his courses is on editing spherical panoramas in Photoshop and After Effects. And one of the images that we're going to be using is an image provided from his course. Like I said, Chris is a great friend of mine. If you're going to be at Adobe Max this year, make sure you check out Chris's classes. He has a whole bunch of good stuff on Photoshop, on After Effects, on Acrobat, and a whole bunch of other things. So check Chris out. So Chris Converse, thank you for letting us use your photos for today's challenge. By the way, the course is on lynda.com, and the course is titled Editing a Spherical Panorama with Photoshop and After Effects. So if you want to learn more after watching this stream about editing 360 photos, I highly recommend this course, so check it out. I also want to mention that you should click on Chat with the Community on this link here or right down here to access the Discord page where you can share with us the results of your challenges. For example, these are the results of yesterday's challenge of creating 3D text in Photoshop using the 3D features. A lot of good work. So please, 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 anything that you do, come back into Discord and share it with us. If you have any comments, questions, or concern, this is the place where you can do that. We have other tabs that you should check out, like past challenges, ask a question, tips and tricks, career and advice, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So check it out. You can get to that page by going on the link above my head. And I noticed that I have my microphone cord showing, so I'm just going to move that away. And there it is. Microphone is now out of the way. But you can see the link right above my head, and it goes onto this page. So check it out. So how are you guys doing today? Excited for the very last challenge? I'm kind of sad I won't get to talk to you guys anymore every morning, which has become like a really good routine for me. I get up and I get to show you some cool stuff in Photoshop, and then later on in the day I get to see it on Discord. So I'm gonna miss it. But next week we're gonna have Claudie from Plant My Soul. There she is. She's one of the mentors along with Sam and Tim. She'll be here starting Monday. But let me just look at the comments and see if there's anything going on or any questions. Cool. All right, guys. Well, let's get started. Today is Friday the 13th. I hope that nobody out there is too superstitious, but we're going to have good luck and good fun with today's challenge. Let me bring up Photoshop. There it is. If you downloaded the 2 images from the behance.net/challenge/ I don't even remember the URL anymore. Let me just bring it up here. I have all these tabs open and I have my microphone on the way, but there it is. It's behance.net/challenge/ challenge/Photoshop. That's where you can find this page, and you can click on Get Started to download the photo that the 2 photos that we're gonna work with today. You can see how good my memory is. I couldn't remember that URL that I say like 20 times every morning, but I forgot it. So behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. Download the Get Started file. All right, so let me bring Photoshop back up. And once you've downloaded the files, what you want to do, and you'll do the same with any 360 photo, is go into 3D, spherical panorama, import panorama. And just want to make very clear that this feature is only available in Photoshop CC. It's not available in older versions of Photoshop. And actually, I believe it was first available in Photoshop CC 2017, if I'm not mistaken, 2018. Somebody can correct me in the chat. But click on Import Panorama and select either of the panels. You can just use the one that I'm going to use for the first example. I don't know if we'll have enough time to do both, but there's 2 files in there so that you can play with these 360 panels. When you click on Open, this window will come up, and what you need to do is just press OK. If you are a little more advanced and you want to start adjusting 3D scene size, document types, and all that stuff, you can do it. Maybe you want to color manage it as soon as you start, like maybe making it an Adobe RGB file. That's fine. Totally up to you. You can just press OK, no problem. The 360 panel opens up in Photoshop, and I'll keep the properties panel open so that we can see some of the properties. But with the Move tool selected, remember yesterday we talked about having the Move tool to display the 3D overlays, and how I kept my hand on the V key and the M key on the keyboard so that I can switch between the Move tool and the Marquee tool. Well, same thing here. Notice that right now I'm in the Marquee tool, but if I press V on the keyboard for the Move tool, I get the 3D overlays right here, these little guys, or press the M key and they go away. So what these allow you to do is just rotate the image. See that? Really cool stuff. So I believe this photo is shot with a Theta 360 camera. So just one of those cameras where you just push once and it just takes a 360 photo all around you. And you can actually see where the camera was sitting. There's the tripod right there. And these are the 360 photos that you'll see on Facebook and other pages. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to learn how to edit these kinds of photos, because the editing, although similar to regular photos, is a bit different. There's a couple things that you have to know how to do in order to work non-destructively and get good results, and that's what I'm going to teach you today. So let me know if you guys are excited about working with 360 photos in the chat. I see we have more people: Diego, Beatrice, Patty, Van Dam, who I've been seeing often in the chat. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, let's get right to it. I don't see any questions. So I see Sean wrote, I use my Nikon and stitch them together. Yeah, you can definitely do that with just a regular camera. A lot of cell phones these days have that capability where you just take a whole bunch of pictures and it stitches them together to generate a file like this one. I have a Google Pixel phone and it definitely has that feature. So I'm sure that all, if not most, newer smartphones have this capability of just stitching photos together. And actually, with a photo shot with photos stitched together in a cell phone, you might have more of a need to bring them into Photoshop and edit them, because you may need to remove seams, or sometimes you cut people's heads off or whatever. So there's more of a need to edit them in Photoshop than just a camera just shoots the photo with one shot. Although, as you will see in this case, we do have some edits that we're going to apply to this image to improve it. The image doesn't require much in terms of removing any sort of seam or anything like that. The image is pretty good already. We're just going to enhance it, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do to enhance an image like this. So first, I just want to point out that we are in a 3D layer, which means that the actual regular layer is not visible now. If you want to make that visible, and you should, you can right-click and select, right-click on the 3D layer and select, actually you don't even need to right-click, you can just double-click on 360 panel 101 right here. That was the name of the file. If you just double-click on that, it just brings it up in a new tab, okay? So this is the proper way of working. You're working with that open tab and the actual 360 document. And I want you to notice one thing. You can grab the brush tool and you can just paint something. So I'll just, write my initials, JR, right? So I just paint it right on that 360 image, and I can click and drag and the JR stays, which is super cool. But unfortunately, we're working destructively, and you always want to work non-destructively when you're working in Photoshop. So what do? One of the things that you can do is go into the 360 panel, and if you don't have it open, once again, you can double click on the 360 panel label here, so it opens up in a new tab. And notice how I painted directly over the layer. So how can I work non-destructively when I paint? Well, it's very easy. I'm going to undo that and start from scratch. So I'm just going to undo my brush strokes, and I'm going to just start from the beginning. I'm going to double click on the 360 panel so it opens up in a new tab. And all I'm going to do is just create a new layer. So I'm going to create a blank new layer. That's it. Then I'm going to save it, Control S, Command S to save. Go back into the 360 panel, and I'm going to do the same thing, JR. And notice that it's still in 3D space. Pretty cool. But if I go back into my 360 panel, notice that it's now in a new layer. So I'm working non-destructively. So if I can click on the move tool and drag this over to, say, the other side because I was unhappy with the position, save it, Control S on PC, Command S on the Mac. It's no longer there, but it's right here, right on the other side. Pretty cool stuff, right? So this is the process of working non-destructively in 360 panels. You have to create a new layer as you're working and just paint over it. Let me show you another example. So you can see that we have this table here where the tripod was set up, and it doesn't look very good. So we can actually remove this by using a very similar technique. What I'm going to do is, before I do anything, I'm just going to move the JR somewhere else. I'll just put it up here for now, over the house. It doesn't matter. Just because I didn't want the JR showing on the corner here, because I'm going to need those pixels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the 360 tab, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'll just call this layer table or tripod. It really doesn't matter, but this is just telling me what I'm editing, and this is the JR painting layer. So you always want to name a layer so that you know what you're painting on. The important thing is to select the layer. So I have the layer selected, and then I can go and start painting on it. So then I can grab the clone stamp tool, hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac to set a sample source. The clone tool allows you to copy pixels from one area and paint them in another. So by selecting a sample source, you're telling Photoshop, this is the area that I'm going to copy from. So sample source just simply means area that you're copying from. So Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, click, and I'm just going to start painting away in this table. And you'll notice that when you're working with 360 images, your computer may be a little slower than usual. So if you're working on an older laptop, you may have a few issues. This requires just a little bit more power than your normal photos. So just keep that in mind. And I don't want to copy that leaf, so I'm just going to erase it, or not erase it, copy and paste pixels over it with the clone tool. But there it is. Obviously, you spend a little more time fine-tuning the grass or whatever you're painting on, but when I go back into my 360 panel, you'll see that we painted directly over this table layer. See that? Pretty cool stuff. So then when I select the move tool, I can click over and, see what my 360 photo looks like. So you can start seeing the power of using 360 photos in Photoshop, because now you can start adding layers and adding all these different things. If you're unhappy with them, you can remove them. Really cool stuff. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I see my good friend Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Ryan Tranny. Don't cut people's heads off. Hello, Ryan. Actually, that's Paul Tranny. But we like each other so much that we give each other pet names. No, just kidding. Um, Paul's middle name is Ryan. My middle name's Alfredo, but my family calls me Freddie. So Paul Tranny calls me Freddie, and I call him Ryan because that's what our families call each other. I know it's weird, but that's what we do. um, anyway, um, let's continue. So the next thing I want to show you guys is one of the problems that may come up when you're working with an image like this. If you are working on an image like this and you decide to create an adjustment layer, and the adjustment is not important for this example, but I'm just going to make an adjustment, right? So I made an adjustment. Image looks terrible, but that's okay. That's not the point. So I made an adjustment. Then if I go back and try to paint or copy or clone pixels or anything, Photoshop won't let me do it. That's because the target texture is not selected. I had the adjustment layer selected. So always remember, you need to have one of the pixel layers selected before you can actually paint directly over your 360 panel. So what you need to do is simply click on change texture target, and then it just simply opens up the new tab. This is the same thing as opening up the 360 tab, and then you can select one of the pixel layers and you should be able to paint directly on that layer. I wouldn't recommend doing it this way though. I would just, let me just undo that. I would just disable the curves adjustment layer and then just paint on the actual pixel layers, just in case you're using a tool that will also sample from the adjustment layer. So that way the adjustment doesn't affect the painting that you're doing. So just keep that in mind. So let's see what else we can do. Another thing that you can do with 360 photos is you can actually composite on them, composite things into them. So for example, if, let me show you, actually I just thought about one thing that I wasn't planning on showing you, but we have enough time that I think I could show you. So let me just quickly create a new layer and I'll just type in text because I'm looking at the time and I think we can do it. So why don't we do it? So if you, let me just delete this layer because we don't need it. I'll save the file, come back into my 360 photo and rotate. I'm not sure why it's still showing. Oh, never mind. It went away, but there it is, right? JR and these crazy looking trees, all this fun stuff. And if we wanted to add text, we can definitely add text. So we can just, instead of me painting in text, I could type in something like Photoshop, for example, Photoshop. And let me make that text bigger. It's too small, way too small to see. Here we go. Why aren't you showing? I don't know why you're not showing, but usually there should be text on there. You know what? I think my Photoshop may be acting a little weird. You guys remember how yesterday I had to restart Photoshop? So let me see if I just make the text bigger, if it just shows up. So I'll make it like, I don't know, 500. And yeah, so see my Photoshop is having issues again. Since I don't have too much time to restart like yesterday, I'm just gonna explain what I was gonna do. So basically, if you just type if you just type with a regular type layer, you'll just have to press Control E, Command E on the Mac to merge down. So it'll flatten down and it'll place it in the new layer. So actually, you know what? I'll restart Photoshop, see if it fixes that issue, because I really want to show you guys this. So what I'll do is I'll just close this. I'll close this file and just remind you guys to go into the Discord page to show your work while Photoshop restarts. So remember, go into Discord and check out the chats and please show your work. All right, so I'm gonna come back in here and hopefully this time Photoshop wants to type. So so actually it's kind of good that I did it this way. So what I did now is I just opened the file as a regular JPEG image. So if you ever do that, if you open the file and it comes up and it's just a regular JPEG image and you can't really rotate it, what you need to do is go into 3D, spherical panorama, new panorama layer from selected layers, and that makes it into a 360 layer. So actually, Photoshop not working for me just helped me show you something that is very important. But anyway, so let's see if this time we can get an actual text layer in here. So type tool, there we go. See, now it's working. So lorem ipsum, perfect, lorem ipsum. I can double click on spherical map and add a new layer. And the name of the layer really is not that important, but I can merge this down and it merges it into the 3D layer inside of this blank layer. See that? So that's how you would work with text non-destructively. Unfortunately, the text in here is destructive, which means it's pixels, so I can't really edit the text, so that's the one downside. But remember, Control E, Command E on the Mac to merge down onto the layer inside of the, it's called the texture map, inside the spherical map rather, inside the spherical map. So make sure that you have a blank layer on top, otherwise it will merge with the background layer, and that's not what you want. You want to keep it separate from the background layer. So somebody wrote, can you combine, Jesse wrote, can you combine this with the 3D stuff from yesterday? Good question. You know what? I've never tried it, and if we had more time, I would try it live just to see if it works. So in Photoshop, you do have, this is a 3D layer. You can see this little cube here, and then you can have another 3D layer, and you can merge the contents of two 3D layers using the same technique I just showed, Control E, Command E on the Mac, and then those two 3D objects would live in the same 3D space, but I've never actually tried it with a 360 panel, so maybe I should try it next time and let you know my results. But a very, very good question, Jesse. That's something I want to try now, but I got like one more minute to say thank you and goodbye, so I won't be able to try it in this stream. But I hope that you enjoyed learning how to edit 360 panel photos. I had more things to show you, but we are running out of time, and we got Paul Tranny coming up next with a Photoshop Masterclass. I'm sorry, Ryan Tranny coming up with a Photoshop Masterclass, so stay tuned for that. But I would love to see your results on Discord. Let me bring up the Discord page so that you guys could see it. There it is, Discord. Anything that you edit with a 360 panel, this is where I would love to see your work under current challenges. I also want to say thank you so much for joining me in the last 2 weeks. I had a lot of fun working on 9 different projects that I hope that you enjoyed and you learned a lot from. Make sure that you stick around for Paul. Make sure that you come back next week and check out Claudia for Print My Soul. She will be doing the daily challenges starting on Monday. So check her out. Check out Paul. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Share your work on Behance as well. So if you have a Behance profile, make sure that you upload your work under Create a Project. You can put all the daily creative challenges in there. Let us know the link so we can check it out. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will be seeing you guys again hopefully very soon. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.